and open a public hearing on House Bill 2669. Let us invite our legislative sponsors of the bill, Representative Fragala and Representative Ruiz, to come on up. Is anyone going to join you on this first presentation? All right, excellent.
I have to repeat my question.
Yes.
Good morning. Everybody else I can meet. All right. Good. Chair Hudson, Vice Chair Fragala, and Harvick in the House Committee on Higher Education and Workforce Development. For your record, my name is Ricky Ruiz. I'm the state representative to House District 50, which covers Gresham and a tiny little mini piece of Portland as well. I'm here today as the chief sponsor of House Bill 2669. For too long, Oregon has relied on part-time faculty to sustain our community colleges while paying them significantly less than their full-time counterparts for the same work. House Bill 2669 is a critical step toward rectifying this inequity and ensuring that our educators, regardless of employment status, are compensated fairly for their contributions to higher education and the workforce. As co-chair of the Ways and Means Subcommittee in Education, I see firsthand the investments our state makes in education. This is an investment that we should really consider and must take. This is not a new issue. Community college faculty has been pushing for pay equity for decades. In fact, a bill introduced in 2007 aimed to address this very same issue, yet 2025 is here, and we're still trying to ensure that part-time faculty are paid fairly for their time in the classroom, preparation, grading, and office hours. Oregon's community colleges play a crucial role in strengthening our workforce and economy. Take Mount Hood Community College in our district, for example. A study conducted by Lightcast found that Mount Hood Community College contributed $423.4 million to the local economy in the 2021-2022 fiscal year and supported nearly 5,000 jobs. That kind of economic impact is only possible because of the faculty who dedicate themselves to educating and training students. Yet, despite this vital role, Oregon's reliance on part-time faculty is significantly higher than the national average. A 2018 census of Oregon's community colleges found that only 29% of faculty positions were full-time, compared to a national average of 51%. This means the majority of our faculty members who are preparing our future workforce are being paid less and often receiving fewer benefits. Simply, they are classified as part-time. House Bill 2669 ensures that community colleges compensate part-time faculty at the same per-hour rate as full-time faculty for comparable courses. It also provides funding through the Higher Education Coordinating Commission to help implement this change. This bill is about fairness, stability, and recognizing the invaluable contributions of part-time faculty. I urge your support for House Bill 2669 to ensure that our community colleges remain strong and our faculty are treated with fairness, and our students receive the highest quality of education. Thank you for your time, and I will answer only one question, not from you. Just kidding.
Chair Hudson, Vice Chair Harvick, and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Lisa Fragala, and I serve as state representative for House District 8, which is Central and South Eugene. I'm here today in support of House Bill 2669, pay parity for part-time faculty at community colleges. I'm proud to sponsor this bill to address a long-time inequity in Oregon's higher education system and to ask us to invest in a stronger community college system by paying faculty for the work that they do. Part-time faculty do much of the same work as full-time faculty. They have the same degrees and qualifications and are often hired under the same job descriptions as their full-time peers. In my role as a Lane Community College trustee, my previous role, I had the opportunity to get a close perspective of the work that part-time faculty do. They design, implement, and assess instruction, advise and support students, collaborate with their colleagues, and contribute on college initiatives just like their peers. These are passionate, committed professionals. As an educator, I know having fairly compensated instructors will benefit student outcomes and our community colleges. Faculty working conditions are our students' learning conditions. Instructors who are paid fairly will be more likely to stay long-term at the colleges where they work. They will have the ability to invest more time in their courses and in their students, and to contribute more robustly to transformative initiatives college-wide. As someone who has many community college employees in my district, I'm deeply concerned that many part-time faculty are working for less than a living wage. On average, part-time faculty earn 58% of what full-time faculty make. And I'm not saying they make less because they have a less of a course load. So to keep the math simple, if a full-time faculty member has a full load, they would be making, let's say they hypothetically make $100,000. A part-time faculty with a full load would hypothetically make $58,000. They are making less money for the same work. Many of these educators are working 2 or even 3 jobs to make ends meet, frequently relying on government assistance such as food stamps. Information recently shared with the LCC board indicated that 39.5% of part-time faculty reported having relied on government assistance, while 15% had reported food insecurity and 15.2% had reported experiencing housing insecurity. Colleagues, we know that working families are struggling in Oregon, and ensuring they make a living wage is important for our communities to thrive. There is nothing part-time about the actual work that part-time faculty do, yet their compensation does not reflect this reality. House Bill 2669 will provide fair compensation to part-time faculty, strengthen Oregon's community college system, and create a better learning environment for students. Please join me in supporting it. Thank you for the opportunity today.
Thank you. Colleagues, any questions? Representative Young?
Thank you, Chair. Anyone you can answer this question, but I'm going to rephrase my other questions you weren't here for. Since you are the chair of the Ways and Means of Education, what is the cost to the state? I have like a 2-part question, but that's the first part of it.
Yeah, well, Chair Hudson, Representative Younger, members of the committee, that's a good question. I can get you the exact numbers. I just woke up. But I can get you those exact numbers. If not, I think there's going to be more testimony. Is there? Yeah, that let me answer that question.
We're obviously going to be seeing this later if it goes through
Potentially,
the Ways
yes.
and Means, yeah. And does this open up the door for setting wages for other institutions in the state, like K through 12 and things like that, with part-time people and stuff like that? And then we're going to be back here with the new bill doing wages again.
I can attempt to answer that. Chair Hudson, Vice Chair Harbeck, and members of the committee, Representative Yunker. Part-time faculty and full-time faculty often have separate pay schedules. They negotiate sometimes with the same union, sometimes with separate unions. So we are not in this bill asking to establish what employees are paid. They will still bargain that with their employer. What we are asking it for is pay parity.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, thank you, representatives.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, could we have Kevin Sullivan from OEA? And Kevin, are there a couple people who are coming up with you as well? Or not at first?
Just me.
Okay, wonderful.
Good morning, Chair Hudson, Vice Chairs Fragler and Harbeck, and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Kevin Sullivan, and I'm a public affairs consultant with the Oregon Education Association. OEA represents 4,000 faculty and staff across 11 community colleges in Oregon. And I prepared this testimony thinking I would go last, so I'm going to update this on the fly. But you're going to hear from faculty who have had to work 4 jobs to make ends meet, faculty who have tried to become full-time multiple times but have been denied, and members who have turned down jobs in Oregon for greener pastures and higher pay in Washington. The members that you're going to hear from are representative of the thousands of part-time faculty across the state who are counting on you to pass House Bill 2669. I'm not going to take too much time because I want you to hear from our members, but I do want to uplift some of the statistics that you've already heard today. In the 2023-2024 school year, part-time faculty at Oregon community colleges made 58% of a full-time faculty's salary on average. So as Representative Fragla said, in a hypothetical scenario where a full-time faculty makes $100,000 a year with a full course load, that part-time faculty member would make $58,000. If it was a half course load, they would make $29,000. The reality is this: community colleges have been underfunded for decades by the state of Oregon, and the budgets have been balanced on the backs of part-time faculty. If Oregon is truly serious about investing and developing our workforce for the future, that investment must include adequately compensating the part-time faculty who are relied upon more and more to do the bulk of teaching. Thank you so much for your time and the opportunity to speak today. I urge you to vote yes on House Bill 2669, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. And committee members, we can always call Kevin back up if we feel that there are further questions that arise during testimony. All right. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Next, we're hearing from John Wyckoff, representing the Oregon Community Colleges Association. Is anyone else here present in the building who's also speaking in opposition, just to make sure we get balance in our testimony? Okay, great.
Chair Hudson, Vice Chairs Harbeck and Fragala. For the record, I'm John Wyckoff, Deputy Director with the Oregon Community College. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you about House Bill 2669 today, which would mandate that Oregon community colleges compensate part-time faculty at the same hourly rate as full-time faculty. While we fully recognize and appreciate the critical role that both full-time and part-time faculty play in serving students, this bill represents a significant challenge that could have unintended consequences for our institutions and the students we serve. Community colleges rely on a diverse mix of full-time and part-time faculty to meet the fluctuating demands of student enrollment. Unlike universities, where students register well in advance, community college students often register up until and even after the first day of the term. This necessitates a flexible staffing model with part-time faculty and overload assignments for full-time faculty, providing the agility to respond quickly to shifting enrollment needs. House Bill 2669's one-size-fits-all approach undermines the flexibility and could hinder our ability to serve students effectively. Additionally, the responsibilities of full-time and part-time faculty are not the same. Full-time faculty take on extensive duties beyond instruction, including curriculum development, advising, program planning, accreditation work, committee service, and faculty governance. Part-time faculty, on the other hand, are primarily responsible for teaching and grading, often utilizing curriculum developed by full-time faculty. At one college, for example, full-time faculty salaries encompass a workload where teaching and grading account for only 64% of their responsibilities. Part-time faculty, who are paid 62.4% of the full-time structural rate, are compensated only for their instructional duties. If part-time faculty were paid at the same hourly rate as full-time faculty without the additional responsibilities, they would effectively receive a higher hourly rate with fewer duties, which is not equitable. If part-time faculty were required to assume the additional duties currently undertaken by full-time faculty, it could also drive away valuable instructors, particularly in areas like career and technical education programs. Many CTE faculty are industry professionals who teach part-time while maintaining full-time careers. Requiring them to take on additional instructional and extra instructional responsibilities could make it impossible for them to continue teaching, depriving students of vital real-world expertise. Another real-world example of colleges illustrates the implications of the issue. At one Oregon community college, full-time faculty are expected to serve on committees, mentor students, and engage professional development before their teaching duties. At another, full-time faculty workloads include office hours, program planning, curriculum development, and institutional service obligations that part-time faculty are not required to fulfill. If community colleges were to implement House Bill 2669 without adjusting responsibilities, it would create inequities in compensation structures and could disrupt faculty staffing models. In summary, While we deeply respect and appreciate the contributions of part-time faculty, House Bill 2669 does not appropriately address the differences in workload and responsibilities between part-time and full-time instructors. It would create unintended consequences, reduce institutional flexibility, and potentially drive away essential faculty in key disciplines. I urge the committee to reconsider House Bill 2669 in its current form and instead consider changes that support equitable faculty compensation while preserving the ability of community colleges to serve students effectively. Thank you for your time and consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Representative McDonald?
Chair Hudson, so I have questions about what the job description of a full-time person and part-time person is versus the jobs they actually do. Because what I have seen often is that long-term part-time instructors are advising students, are developing curriculum, are performing those duties that you listed as part-time duties, but aren't being compensated for it. So do you have any information about what, the difference between what the official job description is and the job that actually is being performed?
Chair Hudson, Representative Finger McDonald, I think we know, I think that there are faculty who would happily take on extra responsibilities and probably do. We also have faculty for whom that model would not work. And I think as we think about it, maybe a model where there is a salary pool that colleges could tap into so that they could compensate faculty who are and or want to take on sort of more of the responsibilities that full-time faculty take on. But we still feel we need to retain the flexibility because that isn't the model that would work for all of our faculty who really are just coming in, particularly in the CT areas, coming in, teaching a course in whatever it is, welding, and then going onto their full-time jobs.
Thank you. Representative Yunker, did you have a question?
I think he asked part of it, but, is there more changes you recommend that we make to make this fair? I think you said somewhat just now, but I was just looking at, there just seems like there's this, from me looking in, obviously I don't work at the college, I'm not, but there's people doing one job and there's people doing another job, and then some of these people are doing some of those jobs in the middle, but they're not getting paid all the same, and it seems like the classification maybe or something, how do we, is there a way to make it better?
Well, I mean, there are a couple of issues here, and one of them is, right, I mean, that community colleges have been, I think, chronically underfunded, and while that is part of the reason, I think, for some of the numbers of part-time faculty, a lot of it also is, again, that our students apply all the way up to the day of, even after courses. So you always need a certain number of part-time faculty who can come in and pick up those courses. Again, we also use overload for full-time faculty. But I think for us, again, if there was money aside that could be used for salaries to bring salaries up to parity when appropriate, because in many cases it will not be, that was still somewhat discretionary, so it wasn't a one-size-fits-all for boards, that I think something like that would probably work better for the colleges and for having that flexibility.
Thank you. Representative Munoz?
How is it determined which faculty are full-time and which faculty are part-time?
So that would be in the collective, Chair Hudson, Representative Munoz, that would be in the collective bargaining agreements of each college, and they're all separately
May I
bargained.
ask a follow-up?
Please follow up, yes.
So if I wanted to go work at the college, there's an opportunity for me to select if I'm full-time or part-time, or who determines that? I hear you saying that it's in the collective bargaining agreement. How is it stated?
I'm sorry, I think what I meant was that what defines what is full-time and part-time is in the collective bargaining agreements. Faculty, when they're applying, would be applying either for a part-time opening or in some cases a full-time opening. But I think what defines those, and we have some folks from the colleges here who are going to speak today who can probably speak in more detail about those specific contracts. But I'm representing all 17 and I don't know them all in
I
detail.
forgive you.
Representative, let's do Fragola, then Wright.
Great. So I believe I heard you say in your final comments that you support equitable pay, but that you believe there needs to be funding for it, and my understanding is that there is funding in this bill. So my question is, do you support equitable pay for part-time faculty?
Chair Hudson, Representative Fragala, absolutely. And I think, again, for us, this is the way this bill is structured. It would assume that every one of those job descriptions has the same level of responsibility, which is not currently the case. And so, and that's where I think to get to equity, something that is more flexible, that doesn't, not to keep using the term, have a one-size-fits-all approach, would get us there in a way that meets the need of students and also reflects what the differences in those contracts are.
Thank you. Representative Wright.
I think you answered. Thank you, Chair. I think you answered part of my question. Though I'm trying. I guess I'm a little confused because we talked about pay parity, and we talked about collective bargaining agreements, and I totally agree with what's been presented, that people need to be paid equitably. How does this bill then affect your collective bargaining agreement, and or are we usurping your right and their right to collective bargaining?
Chair Hudson, Representative Wright, I don't want to get too far over my skis here, but I think the way that it would affect collective bargaining is because you would say everybody has to be mandatorily paid at the same rate. You would have to go in and look at contracts and try to make changes so that there is equity in the workload between, so that the hourly rate truly is the same. Because we could very easily end up in a situation where, and this happens at least one college, where part-time faculty at an hourly rate are making a higher hourly rate than full-time faculty when you consider all of the other responsibilities. And so I think it's being able to balance those. But I think insofar as it would affect collective bargaining, it would be probably in having to look at those definitions so that you are paying sort of apples to apples.
Thank you.
Mr. Wyckoff, at some community colleges, although not at all of them, a part-time faculty member who wished to pick up extra classes past a 0.5 FTE would not be able to, and the college would choose to hire another part-time employee to teach the further classes instead of giving classes to the existing part-time faculty member who wanted more classes. I know you can't speak for all of the colleges because this is different between institutions, but what is some of the motivation behind this from a hiring point of view?
Chair Hudson, I'm not sure I can answer that question. I would encourage you to ask some of the folks coming ahead of me, because and I think it's going to be a different answer at different college and with different sort of variables to that. But I don't know that I can provide a particularly clear answer.
Thank you. Representative Munoz.
Thank you for answering all of our questions, but how do you ensure that part-time faculty doesn't take on additional duties or responsibilities that they're not getting paid for?
Chair Hudson, Representative Munoz, my honest answer is I'm not sure one way or the other how you do that in any area of work. I'm sure I think our full-time faculty also do that. I know many of our administrators also do that, right? It's what we can do is set clear expectations and contracts of what the job responsibilities are, and then try to make sure that that we're providing services that to the greatest extent possible and that is most effective.
All right, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We have about 45 minutes left, and we have about 14 people that I count who are signed up to testify. And so, though I don't think we should use an actual timer, if we could encourage everyone who's speaking to stick to about 3 minutes so that everyone does get a chance. I'd like to also try to go back and forth between those in support and those in opposition until we run out of one side, and then just let everyone else be able to continue. I believe Enrique Ferreira and Holly Oaks Miller are here with us in committee today, so I'd like to let them go first.
We holding all our questions.
I'll leave that up to you. Welcome.
Chair Hudson, Vice Chairs Fragola and Harvick, and members of the committee. My name is Holly Oaks Miller. I am the Vice Chair of Political Action at American Federation of Teachers Oregon, and we represent thousands of members in higher education across the state. I am also part-time faculty at Portland Community College, and I'm writing to express support for House Bill 2669, which will help bridge the gap between the pay for part-time and full-time faculty members in higher education system, and it will increase outcomes for our students. Part-time faculty are currently paid much less on a per-course basis than full-time faculty. Institutions of higher education are increasingly reliant on part-time faculty, turning education into a gig economy. Oregon relies more heavily on part-time faculty than most states. Part-time faculty often struggle with high student debt payments and few paths to loan forgiveness. I've been teaching at the community college level for 17 years and have held part-time faculty positions at 3 different community colleges in Oregon. During that time, all of my teaching reviews from students and peers have been stellar, yet most years I make less than $25,000, even though I do the same work as full-time faculty, including course design, including office hours and meeting students outside of class, and including writing letters of recommendation for students. My student loan payments average about $10,000 per year because my partner is fortunate to have a good paying job and both our incomes are included in payment calculations. As it stands, there is no way I will ever be able to pay the full amount of my student loans, which makes it impossible for me to contribute meaningfully to our household or to save for the future, including saving for retirement. This bill adds pay parity between part-time and full-time faculty. That is a first step towards improvements to our higher education system that will benefit students, faculty, and the community. This is why I urge your yes vote on House Bill 2669. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair Hudson, Vice Chair Fragola, and Heartbreak, and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Enrique Ferreira, and I am the Vice President of the Oregon Education Association and a member of Clackamas Community College as an advisor. But I also have the privilege to be a part-time faculty member teaching GED classes in the social science realm in Spanish and English with other part-time faculty members. Congratulations to all of you on the first long session, by the way, and congratulations on representing your constituents. I know it's not an easy job to do myself. So with that, part-time faculty members teach all over the state. At Lane Community College, the dental hygiene program, Mount Hood Community College, a renowned program in cybersecurity, Jamaica Community College, a famous winery program, Portland Community College, a stable and famous also aviation program, and Coos Bay, the fire science program. All those colleges have part-time faculty that teach those programs. That helps your economy and it helps our educational community. At the same time, nurses and educators go through the pipeline of community colleges, and those part-time faculty members teach those students who are the future of those professions where we find shortages. In 2020, a survey conducted by AFT Oregon and OEA, research provided that 93% of full-time faculty reported having one job, whereas only 48% of part-time faculty reported having a single job. Roughly 30% of part-time faculty reported working 2 jobs, one reported 6 jobs, and others reported 3 jobs. And so I report as working as 6 jobs in many different capacities in the same field. In the same survey, about half of the part-time faculty workers who had previously retired from another job wanted to work full-time. These data reflects that we'll hear from OEA and AFT members today. Part-time faculty teach the same students and the same courses with the same expertise, but they get paid less. We fight for pay parity at the bargaining table. Every single bargain and every single bargain we keep continuing to hear, we don't have enough money from the state. The reality is that community colleges in Oregon have been underfunded by the state for decades and decades, and the budgets have been balanced on the backs of part-time faculty. In 2021, we advocated for part-time faculty healthcare. In 2023, we fought for dental and vision healthcare benefits. Now it's time to close the gap on the pay. Please support HB 2669. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Oh, go ahead. For next. Okay, great. And I'd like to go out of order just for this time so that Allison Lutz can testify because she has a schedule concern.
Did you ask for Allison?
Yes.
Oh, hi. Thank you so much for taking me. I don't know if you all can see me. Oh, here we go. Good morning, Chair Hudson, Vice Chair Fragola, and Harbeck, and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Allison Lutz, and I'm a part-time faculty member at Chemeketa Community College, where I've worked since 2011, and Portland State University since 2021, and Clark College in Vancouver, Washington since 2024. Even though I'm labeled as part-time, I teach sometimes more than a full-time class load. Teaching is my main source of income, and I'm dedicated to this work and to my students. At Chemeketa, a part-time faculty member is currently paid 65% of what a full-time member is paid in wages. 65% is not an accurate reflection of my work compared to my full-time colleagues. You can ask them and they would agree. When I am assigned a class, I receive notification and the rest is up to me. Constructing the syllabus, course design, course development, assignment development, sourcing course materials, not to mention student interaction, classroom preparation, feedback, grading, letters of recommendation, etc., etc. I teach the same classes, I have the same qualifications, I receive excellent evaluations, but I get paid less. Our students receive the same credits, why don't I receive the same pay? Institutions like Chemeketa and Portland State use part-time faculty to save costs, at a disservice to students. I have to teach at 3 to 4 institutions to make ends meet. I'm unable to provide my students the adequate attention they need, as I have to run out of my classroom to drive to my next job. Because I have to work at multiple institutions to make ends meet, I spent the last year looking for other part-time openings. Recently, I was offered a job at Mount Hood Community College. Unfortunately, I had to decline that offer so I could take another offer at Clark College in Vancouver, Washington. I took the Clark College job over Mount Hood because Clark paid more. In fact, at Clark, I make $800 more per class than I do at Chemeketa, where I've been teaching for more than 13 years. And I'm not the only Oregonian looking to Washington for higher wages. At a recent department meeting at Clark, I recognized 2 other Chemeketa part-time faculty who are transitioning. The situation is real. Part-time faculty deserve equal pay for equal work. The future of Oregon higher education depends on it. I urge you to support HB 2669. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Allison. All right. Next on the list, Dave Curler from Rogue Community College.
Hello, let's see, my camera's disabled, but I will go ahead and start. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Chair Hudson, members of the committee, for the record, my name's David Kohler. I am a Dean of Instruction at Rogue Community College, and I am here in opposition to House Bill 2669. We've heard that some folks suggest that the pay parity is for the same work, and I wanted to make sure that you understand that at least at the institutions, 2 institutions that I have worked at in Oregon, there is a significant difference between full-time faculty and adjunct faculty workloads. Our full-time faculty generally have larger responsibilities, such as college career advising, liaison to industry partners for alignment of learning outcomes, placement of students in practicums and clinicals, and other work-based learning opportunities, associated efforts related to curriculum development and redevelopment work, program reviews, which look at the holistic program rather than just specific courses, and the assessment and related continuous improvement efforts for those programs, requirements for professional development, and other service to the college, such as committee work, such as committees focused on the needs of specific student populations or college effectiveness council, et cetera, and coordinating and serving as mentors for adjunct faculty. Our local collective bargaining agreement includes provisions for the workload and the compensation for both full-time and adjunct faculty. And so, having said all of this, many of our adjuncts, and particularly those in our career and technical education fields, they work full-time jobs. They only have the capacity to teach maybe one or maybe two courses per term sometimes, to really lend their specialized expertise in those CTE fields. And they don't have the capacity to take on these other additional responsibilities that would equate to the same pay rate. And as you all know, CTE is a significant part of the community college mission as we are training for our regional workforce. And so if we were to include many of these additional responsibilities to require them, we have the potential to severely limit the pool of adjuncts who are experts in their fields to teach for us. And that could negatively impact colleges, especially in the more rural areas where those pools are already limited. So that could effectively lead to reduced quality of our CTE programs and ultimately negatively impact our employers and our regional economic output. And we've heard that the budgets have been balanced on the backs of adjuncts, and I would suggest that the budgets have been balanced on the back of all employee groups in community colleges. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kohler. I do have a question. So recognizing that there are some employees in CTE, but other fields as well, who have let's say, a day job and enjoy teaching extra classes in addition to outside professional work. But there are other adjuncts who, as similar to those we have heard from, who, in order to cobble together a full-time load of classes, are going to 2 or 3 or more different places to teach. What's keeping an institution from hiring them at a full load of classes, whether or not they have committee or advising responsibilities as well?
I would suggest that it's just balancing the budgets of the community college based on what we know in terms of the expectations of what funding will be coming from the legislature and the Community College Support Fund, what our tuition revenues are expected to be. And so we have to really balance where we can, how many full-time faculty we can have, how many staff we can have to support the mission of the college. So that's really the limitation is our budget that is ultimately approved by our local boards.
Thank you. Representative Fragler, you have a question.
Yes, thank you for testifying today, Dean Korler. Hope I got that right. So if I'm understanding your answer to that last question, you are using the fact that part-time faculty are paid less than full-time faculty to balance your budget. So that would lead me to understand that that the increased hiring of part-time faculty is being used as a mechanism by our community colleges to balance their budget. So did I understand you correctly? Did you say that you're using this as a balanced budgeting mechanism?
Not necessarily. So what I was suggesting is that the adjuncts at our institution do a small subset of the overall workload and responsibilities. that our full-time faculty do. It's in our collective bargaining agreement has those specific workload responsibilities for both employee groups, and it is a subset. The budget is set by the institution that's approved by our local board, and it's based on basically what we know to be potentially the state funding support, as well as our local tuition and fee revenues and the associated expenditures for all employees and services and other, purchase items that we need to run our institution.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Follow up?
So with additional funding, would that enable you to be able to provide additional resources at the college for part-time faculty?
I would say that with additional funding, community colleges, if that funding was supported and we could count on it year after year, then certainly that would be something that would go and be part of the discussions in our local collective bargaining agreements, which sets the rates.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Kohler.
You're welcome.
Next, we are hearing from Kimberly Putman at Oregon Coast Community College.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Excellent. I'm Reverend Kimberly Putman. I teach sociology and English for speakers of other language at Oregon Coast Community College and Chemeketa Community College. Even my introduction begins to describe the problem. In addition to my 2 adjunct appointments, I work as a grant writer, proposal editor, book author, and nonprofit leader. I work 6 days a week just to pay my bills. Why do I work so hard? Pay inequality between part-time and full-time instructors. But I'm just as qualified. I've been Teacher of the Year and Open Pedagogy Innovator of the Year. Sociologists across the state are teaching the book that I co-wrote, Interdependence and Inequality, Social Problems and Social Justice. Also, I do the same work as full-time instructors. I must teach my courses to the same high standards as they do. Like full-time instructors, I work with students who face barriers of poverty, housing instability, and interrupted education. These students are passionately committed to their success, but they need strong, supportive relationships with their instructors to succeed. Unlike full-time instructors, my capacity to show up for my students and my colleges is constrained by my low pay. For example, I've had the honor to be asked to share what I learned in the Open Oregon Education Book Project with my colleagues at Oregon Coast Community College. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to teach teachers. However, they've asked me to do this work as a volunteer. And beyond my own story, the employment outlook is bleak for academics. 40 years ago, approximately 70% of faculty were tenured. Now, only approximately 20% of community college instructors in Oregon are tenured fac positions. Looking deeper, we see that women and people of color make even less. Women in higher education earn just an average of 82 cents for every dollar that a white man would make. This gap widens to 76 cents for Black women and 72 cents for Hispanic and Latina women. Oregonians have to care about education. However, Oregon ranks 39th nationwide in community college completion. Only about 40% of our students get their degrees, partially because of high faculty turnover. At Oregon Coast Community College alone, nearly 35% of the teaching faculty left in one 6-month period. This turnover is fueled in part by low salaries. We must do better. With your support of this bill, you create better lives for students, faculty, and all Oregonians.
Thank you, Kimberly. All right. Thank you very much. We will next hear from Lori Chelsea, president of Central Oregon Community College.
Chair Hudson, Vice Chairs Harbeck and Fregala, and members of the committee. For the record, I'm Lori Chesley, and I'm the president at Central Oregon Community College. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify today. I'm here to express my concerns about HB 2669 and its potential unintended consequences on community colleges. At COCC, we value all of our faculty. Both part-time and full-time faculty play a critical role in serving our students, and we could not function without both, and the flexibility, in particular, of our part-time faculty. I do believe that HB 2669 imposes a standardized approach to faculty compensation that really doesn't reflect the realities of how community colleges operate. As Mr. Wyckoff said, unlike universities where course schedules are set months in advance, community colleges need to adapt to changing student demand right up to sometimes even after a term begins. As you know, I'm sure our enrollments fluctuate pretty significantly over time. We rely on the mix of part-time faculty and overload assignments for full-time faculty so that we can adjust quickly and meet student need. This flexibility allows us to offer the right courses at the right times, and again, is very important to us. I will say that I think the most important point I want to make today is that there is a fundamental distinction between full-time and part-time faculty, and that's the scope of their responsibilities and the expectations that we have for them. Full-time faculty at COCC are paid for 45 load units annually, and they're placed on a salary scale based on education and experience. In addition to course preparation, teaching, grading, communicating with students, they have a broader range of responsibilities and set of expectations. They, as others have said, they develop, revise, assess curriculum. They create new programs and courses. They serve on a plethora of college governance committees. They participate actively in our accreditation work. They participate in student clubs, orientations. They conduct peer evaluations. I could go on. In particular, our CTE faculty work very closely with community partners for opportunities for students in internships and for sharing of equipment, facilities, et cetera. Our transfer faculty also work closely with our transfer institutions to align curriculum and the like. By contrast, part-time faculty at COCC are compensated if they take on additional duties outside of instruction. They're paid at a rate of $35 per hour. And it's important to note that that's the same rate that we pay full-time faculty for off-contract work. So if part-time faculty were to receive the same hourly rate as full-time faculty without taking on the additional responsibilities of a full-time faculty member, in effect, they would be earning a higher wage than their full-time colleagues. On the other hand, if part-time faculty were expected to assume the same responsibilities as full-time faculty to account for the equal pay, we would lose some highly qualified instructors, not all, but some. And I think that's been mentioned that would likely occur in CTE fields. Some faculty don't want to take on those extra responsibilities, and of course, that's their choice. I appreciate very much the questions about do community colleges or universities, frankly, for that matter, balance their budgets on the backs of part-time faculty. We're trying to balance our budgets related to so many factors. no administrator that I've ever worked with is calculating how we can save money by hiring more part-time faculty. The first factor that we look at my institution when we decide to replace, hire new full-time faculty is the record of enrollment in the area that they're teaching in. Has that been steady? Has it been volatile? Has it been increasing or has it been declining? We're looking at budget for so many factors. Equipment. How can we save money with equipment? How can we save money? How can we address deferred maintenance? It's a complex budgetary process that is never focused on how we can take advantage of our employees. When we hire new staff, what's the record of service that unit has? Has their business been increasing, decreasing? So I want to make that point because I think we are empathetic to folks who work at our institutions in all areas, part-time versus full-time. Finally, the work of our faculty is invaluable. HB 2669, I believe, oversimplifies the complex nature of faculty compensation and the responsibilities that different faculty have. And so I would ask you to consider some of these factors and oppose HB 2669. Thank you so much for listening.
Dr. Chelsea, I have a question. It wouldn't be uncommon, in my experience, to see two part-time faculty members at two different colleges who both work at both colleges, who would love to work for only one college and yet cannot get hired to teach a full load of classes at one college. And so they find that they are seeing each other on two different campuses throughout the week. If you were able to hire a part-time faculty member for more classes at Central Oregon Community College, would you hire another part-time faculty member to teach those classes, and why?
Yeah, well, I appreciate that question, but I think there's a complex answer. So as my colleague from Rogue has mentioned, we approve budgets every year. And part of that budget is how many personnel do we have, how many are full-time, how many are some aspect of part-time, what are our other expenses. So we have a planned budget for the year, and as a term approaches, we may find we have a greater enrollment where, we could have had another full-time faculty member, but we haven't budgeted for that person, which might be one reason we wouldn't be creating additional full-time positions off unexpectedly outside of our budgetary process.
Thank you. Representative Munoz?
Hi, thank you for taking my question. How did you come to the conclusion that if you made part-time workers full-time workers, these additional responsibilities would push them out and they would want to leave? Did you ask them?
Well, we know, so no, I have not asked a particular faculty member this question, but what we know is that a number of our faculty, particularly in CTE classes, are employed in the private sector, and the private sector very frequently pays more than the nonprofit sector does. And we know that they're committed to that career, and their preference is, I want to do this one class or two classes while I still work my regular full-time job, because that's my lifestyle right now. So I haven't done a survey, absolutely not, but I do talk to faculty. I know their situations, and I think there are some people, there's definitely some faculty who would not want to do that, and many would.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Chelsea.
Thank you.
Next, we're hearing from Maria Sorrentino from West Lynn.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, and I'm going to try to turn on my camera, so hopefully you can see me too. Chair Hudson, Vice Chairs Fragala and Harbeck, and members of the committee. My name is Maria Julia Sorrentino, and I am a business and computer science instructor at Clackamas Community College since 2001. I know that many of you on this committee are new, and it is important for me to say that this is the third time I have come before the legislature about pay parity. I am angry and tired of being treated like a second-class educator. The false perception about part-time faculty persists and has justified mistreatment for far too long. I hope to see it end before I die. I've dedicated 24 years of my life to students and Clackamas Community College. I love just about everything about my job, except the very real facts that I still do not enjoy pay parity with my full-time colleagues. I do not get paid the same rate for all the work I do for the college. And I was recently removed from classes 3 days before the term started without any regard for my financial well-being, despite my many contributions and years of loyalty and exceptional service. I also contribute to the college's success by participating in multiple committees, including shared governance, which included working on accreditation, online learning and educational technology, organizational health, for which I helped develop a knowledge base to track and access college-wide internal documents, and am currently on a hiring committee for an open dean position. I've contributed much of my time and expertise to these committees over the years because I care and want to help advance the college's strategic priorities, despite the fact that I have never been paid adequately for it. Despite already being paid less than my full-time colleagues when teaching, to add insult to injury, I'm further devalued by being paid half my teaching rate for non-teaching activities, including course development, course redevelopment, office hours, and advising with students, and all committee work. I can assure you that I provide the same high quality attention and service to everything I work on, but I'm still not deemed worthy by the administration or the people who spoke earlier in contrary to this bill of being paid equally for all the time I spend working for the college. I cannot think of another career where one can exceeds expectations on every single assessment goal during their professional review, spend 24 years doing their best and making a real impact for their employer, and yet find themselves in the position I sit before you here today. I was removed from one class for fall term with 3 days notice. Then this winter, I had 2 of the courses I was assigned taken away with 1 week's notice. Through March, my friends, my salary from the college will not even pay my rent. I am a single woman. I have no one else. I come before you again today to ask for what is just and right, for equal treatment for me and all fellow part-time faculty colleagues. Please help us get the respect and pay we have earned by bridging the unfair and outdated pay parity gap by passing House Bill 2669. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sorrentino. Can we hear next from Sandy Porter at Treasure Valley Community College, please?
Good morning, Chair Hudson and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Sandy Porter, and I'm the Vice President of Academic Affairs at Treasure Valley Community College, located in Ontario. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak in opposition to HB 2669, which would mandate that Oregon community colleges compensate part-time faculty at the same hourly rate as full-time faculty. My vantage point is unique, as I've spent 15 years teaching as a full-time faculty member prior to coming to administration. I can say with certainty that the work requirements are different between full-time and part-time instructors. Full-time instructors are responsible for building curriculum, building programs, maintaining industry advisory committees. They sustain relationships with transfer partners, participate in state work groups, and take part in shared governance systems, all in addition to their time in the classroom. Our very highly respected part-time faculty members are hired under an agreement that they teach. There's no outside duties. In my perspective, while the time in the classroom is the same, the workload is not the same, and thus equal pay would be inequitable. One of the most important tenets of community college education is each institution's ability to adapt and quickly offer innovative programs to meet the needs of our community. My concern is that this would stifle innovation in each institution's ability to meet their community's educational needs. In many programs, we rely on industry experts to share their expertise with our students for 1, maybe 2 times a year. I have had the opportunity to work with veterinarians, district attorneys, correctional officers, among other professionals who enjoy their classes and bring their real-world experience to our classrooms. However, if asked to do additional duties, they would never leave their careers to do so. Ultimately, I believe that this bill would negatively impact our students and dilute their learning experience. I would be remiss if we did not discuss the budgetary impact. Each community college has a unique pay scale, and not even all full-time faculty make the same wages per clock hour. Level of education, industry experience, and seniority are all factored in. I would suggest that there is some parity, that all part-time faculty that are hired get paid the same. In addition, our campus has a limit on the number of credits that a part-time faculty member can teach, which is bargained within our CBA. This model for equal pay for unequal duties will weaken the instructional models and drive away full-time faculty, as there would be no incentive or differential for them. I greatly appreciate the work of this committee and the spirit of the discussion to support full part-time faculty. I ask that the committee reject HB 2669 and allow financial compensation decisions to be made at the local level for maximum flexibility and the ability to serve our students, programs, and communities best. Thank you very much for your time, and I'd be happy to answer questions if you have any.
Thank you, Ms. Porter. All right. Next, can we hear from Jen Sacklin at Lane Community College, please?
Hello, would you allow me to turn on my camera, please?
Please go ahead.
Thank you. All right, great. Thank you so much. Hello, Chair Hudson, Vice Chairs Fragala and Harbeck, and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Jennifer Sacklin, and I am a part-time faculty member and a part-time classified staff member at Lane Community College. I am here in support of House Bill 2669, which would require pay parity for part-time faculty members at community colleges for teaching work, not for the non-teaching work. One myth that you have heard is that part-time faculty members don't have the same responsibilities as full-time faculty members. This is simply not true. My teaching responsibilities are identical to those of my full-time faculty colleagues. Full-time faculty at LCC and part-time faculty at LCC are expected to do exactly the same work for exactly the same number of hours for exactly the same courses, including class prep, grading, and office hours. Full-time faculty may teach additional courses or may have additional committee work that they're paid separately for, but the per-hour teaching work is identical. It is also a myth that part-time faculty do a smaller amount of the work, of the overall work at all colleges. In my primary department, we have 5 full-time faculty and 17 part-time faculty. Most of the part-time faculty have worked in our department for 6 or more years, and some have worked here for 20 or more years. Almost all of us would jump at the chance at a full-time position. If a department hires the same group of part-time people for 20 years, they are not responding to a need to be flexible and agile. It is furthermore a myth that part-time faculty members aren't as qualified as full-time faculty members. My qualifications are identical to those of my full-time faculty colleagues, and yet I make 81.5% per teaching hour of what a full-time faculty colleague at the same step makes for that same teaching hour, and I'm lucky that's one of the least unequal rates in the state. We are asking for equal pay for equal work. Pay parity for part-time faculty is a necessity because it will increase the amount of time and energy that part-time faculty can spend on students. At LCC, 37% of part-time faculty have 2 or more jobs. Research shows that student success increases when students have meaningful and lasting relationships with their professors. It is impossible to build those relationships when a faculty member can't spend time on campus because we're needing to commute to a different job. When I first started working for community colleges a decade ago, I worked at 3 different campuses in the Portland area: Lewis and Clark College in Southwest Portland in the morning, PCC Willow Creek Center in Hillsborough in the afternoon, and PCC Cascade in North Portland in the evening. Later, I had 4 jobs, 2 at LCC and 2 at Lynn Benton Community College, LBCC. I had to commute for a total of 2 hours each day to teach a 2-hour class at LBCC while also teaching those same days at LCC. I say all of this because my story is not uncommon. To pay bills and provide for our families, part-time faculty have to take multiple jobs. Today, I'm lucky to only have 3 jobs, and they're all at LCC in Eugene. I love my jobs, and I love my students. By passing pay parity, faculty like me will be fairly compensated and will have more time to spend with our students. Thank you for your time, and I hope that I can count on your support of House Bill 2669, and I would be very happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sacklin. Next, we're going to hear from Peggy Oberstaller, also from LCC.
Good morning, Chair Hudson, Vice Chairs Fragola and Harvick, and members of the House Higher Education Committee. My name is Peggy Oberstaller, and I am a health education instructor at Lane Community College. I am here today to speak in support of House Bill 2669, which would require community colleges to pay part-time faculty at the same hourly rate as they pay full-time faculty for teaching work. So I hear a lot of people saying that that full-time faculty are paid for committee work on top of their teaching salaries. We are not asking for that extra. We are asking for pay parity for the teaching work alone, which we currently do not have. When I completed my Master of Science in 2004, I was looking for full-time work, but there were no full-time positions in my area of expertise. I had been working part-time in Lane's Fitness Center while finishing my degree and was offered a part-time faculty position teaching health courses after graduation. I had never worked in the education system before, so I was unaware that part-time faculty were considered temporary faculty by both full-time faculty and the administration, only contracted for 1 term at a time, and not eligible for unemployment if an assignment was not made for a particular term. I found this out only after working for several terms at Lane. Well, it turns out this job wasn't temporary for me. Fast forward 21 years, and while part-time pay has improved a little over that time, the responsibilities have increased. With fewer full-time faculty on staff, the college relies on part-time faculty to keep the college running. I am expected to have the same degree and expertise as my full-time peers, but I make much less money. There have been very few opportunities to apply for full-time work doing the job I love. I teach a variety of health education courses. I am responsible to create my own materials, my own websites, and find my own textbooks. I am never assigned the same courses each term, so there's always a lot of prep involved in getting ready to teach a new for me course or one that I have not been assigned in several years. I usually work 40 hours or more per week with class prep, teaching time, office hours, grading, curriculum development, assessment work, and meeting with individual students. Despite the hours worked and the decades I've spent at LCC, my salary is just not enough to pay the bills. In order to make ends meet, I have reviewed and edited college textbooks, taken any educational workshops for which a stipend was offered, and have taken positions on LCC governance councils and faculty union committees for which I am paid for my time. For me, my faculty position is my main job. It's the job that I love, working with the students that I care deeply about. I urge the committee to pass HB 2669 so that we can continue to serve our students without having to worry about our livelihoods. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much, Ms. Oberstaller. Committee members, we have 4 more people who have signed up to testify, but I do understand that some people might have 9:30 meetings that they are committed to, and if you need to leave now, I do understand. I would like to stay and hear from the 4 other people who have signed up, and remember, you can always check testimony online and always check the video record online to hear to hear the other 4 individuals who are signed up to testify. Thank you. Can we hear next from Stephen Gladfelter, please?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, welcome.
Hi there, thank you. Good morning, Chair Hudson, Vice Chairs Fragola and Harbeck, and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Stephen Gladfelter, and I'm a mathematics instructor at Lane Community College. I am testifying here in support of HB 2669. Before I begin, I want to emphasize that this isn't just about me. There are many others who are in more difficult positions than I am, and who would also benefit greatly from HB 2669 passing. I want to focus as much on the pay aspect as on the value that we provide for the community. I've been a community college instructor for 27 years, including 26 at Lane Community College. Excuse me. When I moved out to Oregon in 1995 from New Jersey, and when I moved out here, I fell in love with the state. I want to say thank you for the last several years as legislation has improved part-time faculty's lives with healthcare, dental, and vision. And because of these improvements, my quality of life, I feel like I've been able to give more to my job and to the community and to contribute more to my students. But one thing that continues to be a big disparity is the pay difference between part-time faculty and full-time faculty. We've heard a lot, and I'm going to depart a little bit from the script here. We've heard a lot about flexibility and things like that, and let me describe what that might mean in human terms. Flexibility to award someone a class with 2 days' notice means you have to get your class ready with 2 days' notice. Flexibility to terminate a class after it's already been assigned means someone is going to lose their position. I've been wanting to be full-time for all this time, for 27 years now, but getting hired full-time is a bit of a mystery. I've applied at least 5 times to Lane Community College, and even more to various other colleges in Oregon, Washington, California, and Arizona over the course of these last 27 years. I haven't gotten a single full-time offer from any of them. I don't get feedback. I don't know how I could change to get full-time, to succeed with that full-time job. So I've tried, sorry, I'm losing track of where I am. I'm not alone. In a survey done in 2020, OEA and AFT Oregon found that more than half of part-time faculty wish to be full-time, but Oregon relies on part-time more than the national average. In 2018, full-time faculty made up 51% of all instructors at community colleges nationwide. In Oregon, full-time faculty made up only 29%. The reality is that over the last several decades, community colleges in Oregon have come to rely more and more on part-time full-time faculty because, let's face it, we're cheaper. As far as workload goes, others have made the point that are just for the teaching bit, we don't have pay parity. As far as responsibilities, I do serve on committees. I do develop curricula. I do advise students. I have been active in selecting textbooks for our calculus committee and been playing kind of a leading role in that. To be fair, we do get compensated via in-service hours for some of that work. However, those in-service hours are limited, and we only get so many in-service hours per year. From data collected from the 17 community colleges institutions during the 2020-24 academic year, on average, part-time faculty earned 58% of what full-time faculty make. At Lane Community College, teaching work accounts for about 85% of what full-time faculty do. So part-time faculty making 58% statewide, while potentially doing 85% of the work is still a bit of an inequity. We teach the same students, we teach the same courses, we have the same expertise, but get paid less. As I've said, the work that the legislature has done in the last several years has greatly improved my quality of life, and I'm deeply grateful for that. I can confidently say that my life has improved, it's improved my students' experience too, because I feel like I'm part of a community now. I'm a contributing member of the faculty and not just here as a side help. And that rather than being in a dead-end job. I'm urging the committee to pass HB 2669 to rectify the pay disparity between part-time faculty and full-time faculty so that we can continue to help our students without worrying about our livelihoods. And just a few more points as far as workload is concerned. I was answering emails from students at 10:45 p.m. last night. I don't necessarily track all the hours I work each week, but it's safe to say that I'm pretty much could be working at any time of the day or night. It's not a hobby or a side gig, it is a profession, and I am asking that we please be treated as professionals, and the pay parity has enabled me to become more involved with the college, more involved with developing curriculum, and being better able to deliver value and serve the community in a more full capacity. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for hearing me out. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Gladwell.
I'd be happy to take questions.
Thank you very much for being here. Susan Cassie from Clackamas Community College, are you still here?
I am.
Thank you. We are running short on time, but I would love to make sure we hear from you too.
Thank you. Chair Hudson, Vice Chairs Fraggle and Harbeck, and members of the committee. My name is Susan Case, and I'm a part-time faculty member at Clackamas Community College. And it sounds like we all agree that we're in a place where the results of decades of disinvestment and underfunding of higher education has caused college administrators to respond by cutting full-time faculty jobs and growing the ranks of part-time faculty. At Clackamas, we don't actually use the word part-time because I think we're the only college without credit limits, and a significant number of us work more than 40 hours a week when we include our planning and prep time. I work in the English to Speakers of Other Languages department, and I have since 2016. I worked every term, and even with the historic increases that we've seen since the pandemic, the college has decided not to refill one of the only 4 full-time faculty positions for someone who's retiring in June, because they're anticipating decreases in enrollment due to the hostility of the federal government. If full-time faculty jobs were allotted based on the number of hours we teach instead of administrator blessing, we would have 7 full-time faculty who are teaching 15 or more credit hours and 2 others who are teaching 12. And I myself am teaching 18 credit hours this term. My full-time faculty colleagues are paid a salary for their work while I'm paid by the teaching hour. This means that their planning and grading time is paid while mine isn't. We do the same work, we have the same employer, we have the same degrees, we have the same experiences, and most of us actually come from the same program. And this bill is specific to teaching. So for all of the teaching hours, we're doing exactly the same job. A full-time faculty member teaches my reading and writing class in the morning, and I teach the same class in the evening. And I create the same lesson plans, a Moodle shell, a syllabus. I do assessments while adhering to the same student learning outcomes. I'm not paid a dime unless I'm standing in front of my students. And the American Association of University Professors says that it takes about 3 hours of planning and prep time for each hour you stand in front of the students for a class that you know well, and 5 hours for a class that you don't. I also wanted to add that I do a lot of the curriculum things as well. I do registration and advising of students. My department is so small and our English speakers can't navigate a lot of those other college systems, so we manually register them, and I participate in that. And I've also written 2 OERs for my college, and I wrote the first OER for my department. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you'll support this bill.
Thank you, Ms. Case. All right. We also have Chris Nordquist and Bernadette Caposillas. If you are able to speak to us for about a minute, we would appreciate it, and that will conclude the hearing. Could Chris go first?
Oh, there I am. Oh,
welcome.
Thank you for this time, and I'll try to make it really quick. It's just so kind of you to go over for us. But my name is Chris Nordquist. I'm a part-time writing instructor at Portland Community College, where I've been teaching for the past 15 years. Although I've got a doctorate in English, been teaching for 35 years at the college level, always part-time, but through no fault of my own. And I'll just skip through here really quickly, but I've won a bunch of awards. I love my students. I'm a really great teacher, if I say so myself. And yes, I do work as much as my full-time colleagues. It really burns me up that I've heard testimony from the opposition saying that we don't do as much work. Well, we do. In fact, we do a lot more. I have job insecurity because too often classes are canceled at the last minute, and I have to supplement my meager part-time pay by doing a bunch of gig jobs like freelance editing, tutoring, private students, etc. But sometimes I've added up my hours just to see, and I've been horrified to realize I'm earning less than $10 an hour for my teaching, which is my key profession. That's what I've done my whole adult life. And again, I've got a doctorate. It's just wrong, okay? And although I'm not a mathematician, I can confidently assert that several part-time jobs take far more time and energy and end up paying far less than does one full-time teaching, college teaching job. And so even though I'm not required to serve on all these committees and stuff, I do it because I love my students, I'm passionate about what I do, and I end up working even harder than my full-time colleagues for about half the pay. So it's just exploitative, and it's unfair and unjust, and I agree with Maria, who spoke earlier. I'm mad, I'm exhausted, and it's time we pass this bill. So thank you for listening and for your support.
Thank you, Dr. Nordquist. Representative Munoz, did you want to add something?
Yes. Dr. Nordquist, I have a question for you, and I don't know if you have the answer, but I don't want to assume. I'm guessing that when a class is canceled, you don't get paid for that class.
Right, I'm unemployed.
Okay.
And often I don't know until like a week before before it starts, and we've done all the prep work, and they do give us a small stipend. We had to bargain for that in the collective bargaining. We bargained to get paid a stipend for canceled classes at the last minute, but it's like $200 or $250. That's it. And so we've lost a full term of pay.
A follow-up?
Thank you, Chair Hudson.
Oh, and I forgot to say, I just want to say, I've been on food stamps before. It's embarrassing to admit publicly, but I've had to go on food stamps because classes get canceled and I just can't make ends meet. And it's mortifying.
I do have a follow-up question. What happens if you're a full-time employee and your class gets canceled?
I don't know about them as much. I suppose that might happen, but they usually shift them around, and then they will take the place of a part-time person. So my class might get taken away from me because a full-timer got their class canceled for low enrollment, and so they'll take over my class.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Dr. Nordquist. Our final testifier is Bernadette Caposillas.
Hello, my name is Bernadette Capoichas. I'm a professor of communication studies at Southwestern Oregon Community College in Coos Bay. I'm testifying in support of HB 2669. I am grateful for what I heard from the committee members this morning about your enthusiasm for equitable pay. My teaching contract, I'm a full-time teacher, my teaching contract is 80% teaching and 20% other duties. And my hunch is that the solution that you're seeking is probably somewhere in those numbers. So I'm looking at this from a student's perspective. I quickly searched for some high demand classes for this quarter at SWOC, and a student is more likely to have a part-time teacher in psychology. 60% of those classes are being taught by part-time teachers this term. Writing, 60%, communication, 58%, and math is 50-50. And at the beginning of this term, I ran into a student who was lost and looking for his writing teacher. And the writing teacher was part-time. I asked for that teacher's name and I didn't recognize it. And I wanted to help that student, and the best I could do was to say, well, email them. And that moment really highlighted for me that we set students up for better success with a stable and consistent teaching staff, which is harder to get with overstretched part-time faculty. And why pay part-time faculty the same rate as full-time? Well, it is just the right thing to do. It is literally the same job. We recently added that Z designation to our core classes like COM 111Z, which guarantees to students that that is the same class across colleges. And if it's the same class, what's going on with the different rate of pay? And employers, I know, are struggling these days to find a stable workforce. Passing HB 2669 would lead to that and would also help students to provide students with consistent and stable support.
Thank you very much, Ms. Capoichas. I appreciate you waiting out and adding your testimony to our record today. That concludes the hearing on House Bill 2669. I'd like to thank everyone for their patience today and their indulgence. I'd also like to thank the ASL interpreters who stayed overtime. We really appreciate you helping make this meeting more accessible. Thank you, everyone, and committee is adjourned.